What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you have experienced? I used to have a pet turtle when I was younger. One morning I woke up and was walking to my kitchen when there was my turtle crawling on the floor. I picked him up and looked in his aquarium and my turtle was still there. My parents didn't buy me another turtle and we have no idea where it came from. I borrowed a pair of Apple earbuds from one of my friends. I usually keep earbuds in my pockets and one day after being home all day I pulled a second pair of identical headphones out of my pocket. It has happened twice now. I have 2 pairs of Apple earbuds and I gave the other pair back to my friend. I would assume I just grabbed another pair by mistake, but I don't get out much and no one in my family owns any Apple products. Not sure if this counts as glitch in the Matrix, but when I was young, I was sitting watching TV when I heard a few loud bangs as if someone fell down the stairs. I ran out to see but there was nothing there. Just as I went back to sit down my brother fell down the stairs. Seems like the audio is just out of sync with the picture. I was trying to sleep late at night and the t-shirt that I was wearing was getting itchy. So I took my shirt off while still in bed and threw it from the top bunk of my bunk bed. I heard it drop to the floor but I kept on hearing it drop to the ground over and over again and this went on for a while. I was wide awake and I knew I wasn't hearing crap. Still confused about it but I never seemed to mention it till today. Took off my glasses because something made me laugh so hard I cried. Went to bathroom, washed face, came back, glasses gone. 2 weeks pass, I have new glasses. Got home from a friend's house, take off shoes, call from friend less than 5 minutes later, forgot something at his house. Go to put on shoes, missing glasses folded perfectly, sitting on top of my shoes, so calculatedly evenly split between both shoes it looked like an art display. For the longest time in my life when I would hear random noises that were out of this world, sometimes it was static or explosions. I found out later that I have a disorder known as exploding head disorder. It's basically your brain glitching when transitioning into sleep. Scared the crap out of me before I found out. Several years ago I stopped to get gas on my way to meeting my GF at the time for dinner. This was a little before smartphones started coming out so all I had was a silver flip phone. Getting out of the car I managed to drop it on the ground and then kick it right as a car drove by. It was run over and shot out from under the car's tire across the gas station lot. I found it all scratched up. It wasn't smashed, but wouldn't turn on. I spent most of the dinner annoyed because I was semi-broke and didn't want to have to pay for a new phone. When we got back to our apartment the first thing I saw walking in was my silver flip phone sitting on the kitchen counter. Somehow I managed to hallucinate dropping and then kicking my phone, watch it get shot across the lot, and then finding an exact duplicate of it. The antenna on the top even had the same bite marks from where my cat had tried to eat it. Or else my phone spontaneously cloned and teleported itself onto my kitchen counter. Nah, replacing damaged cell phones is standard NSA practice when it comes to wiretapped individuals. Every morning on my way to work I'd go through a shopping mall. On a bench in the mall there would sit an elderly man appearing to wait for someone. The guy was fairly anonymous but always had some small flair that made him look like he was trying to be hip but not really making it. A golfer's cap, a vest, logger boots, etc. Every morning when I walked by I noticed him and always wondered who he was waiting for. For 4 years as I walked by I never saw him actually meeting someone. I get a new job and start work in another part of town. 3 days in when I walk from the subway towards work the same guy is sitting on a bench waiting for someone. It's you from the future trying to get you to start a new trend obviously. I share my name with my great-grandfather on my father's side. I never met him, he died 20 years before I was born. He was apparently 6 feet tall, eccentric, obsessed with intellectual pursuits, but was so prone to getting lost in thought that he would forget to do important things. The rest of the entire family is fairly short. My father is otherwise the tallest at 5 feet 8, very straight-laced, conservative, blue collar. Then there's me, apparently the second coming of my great-grandfather, height, tendencies, personality, general appearance and all. A week before I got married, my brother was going through old records and discovered my great-grandfather's wife, who no living family member ever met. She died young in the 1930s, had the same name as my wife's. Am I just reused content? Creepy, you're a post. I was 12. was spending the day at an amusement park with a neighbor and one of his classmates. I'd never met the classmate before, but he was a cool guy and we're all chilling, going on roller coasters, spending money on the stupid ring toss game and not winning anything. And then we're going to go grab food, and he was about to go grab some chocolate bar and I went, dude, you're allergic to peanuts, because he was about to eat something with peanuts in it. I'd never met the guy before, my friends never talked about him before, but not only did I have the feeling that this guy was allergic to peanuts, I turned out to be accurate. He was like, dang, how did you know? And we agreed that there was no real explanation. Life is just weird sometimes, and went back to riding roller coasters. Never saw that guy again. Something vaguely close to that happened to me at work. I was on break with a co-worker who I've known for about 6 months, so well enough to at least known her name. I try to ask her something, space out, and call her Avery. Avery is the main character of a book she is writing. She hasn't mentioned the name to anyone. That was the only time I have ever gotten her name wrong. I once threw a light bulb into an empty trash bin from a few feet away, but I didn't hear it land at the bottom of the bin. I immediately decided to pick it up to take note of what type of bulb that was so I could replace it. But it was gone. Totally disappeared. My roommate witnessed this too, and we never found it, even as we were moving out at the end of the semester. When I was about 15, I remember having a dream, but all it was black and talking. I remember hearing my mom saying, "It's almost done, you're doing great, it's gone," but I didn't think anything of it. About 3 months later, my earrings got embedded inside my ears and I had to go to hospital to get them cut out. While there, they sprayed freeze spray onto my ear. The spray went into my ear and obviously touched my eardrum, knocking me out, but I could still hear things. While out, all I saw was black, and my mom said the exact same things to me that I heard in my dream a few months before. No one believes me, but it was crazy. Similar thing happens to me every 4 or 5 months. I just chalk it up as deja vu. I occasionally get flashes or visions of things that happen again later. Recently, having a specific conversation at work. This was not a normal or routine conversation like did we get any mail. It was an unusual circumstance that led up to it, so I knew how it was going to go down, and it did exactly that way. On the creepy end of the spectrum, I saw myself at a friend's funeral while he was still alive. He died unexpectedly a few weeks later. I knew that a client of mine would die within a year, and he did. At the time he appeared perfectly healthy, but within the year he was diagnosed with cancer and passed away. I know that one cloudy morning, I will get a call in my car that my stepfather has passed away. He is in his 70s and suffers Parkinson's, so this one isn't that paranormal, I don't think. The creepiest one has yet to be fulfilled, and that is an image I have of a blue pickup truck on the wrong side of the road coming straight at me. If I do die in a car crash and it's with a blue pickup, can someone please post it so I get posthumous karma? Sat down with food on a stick, closed my eyes, opened them 3 hours later, still at my PC, food entirely missing. I guess I blacked out, but I have no idea why I would do that. You were abducted by aliens, that accounts for the missing time. Chances are they ate your food and used the stick to probe you. As a kid, at a really young age, I used to have incredibly realistic dreams of things that hadn't happened yet. To clarify, I had weird dreams of completely mundane things generally, and then they would happen shortly after, usually within a couple days. For this reason, it became hard to differentiate between dream and reality. As a result, I spent years believing my brother had stabbed me in the back with a butter knife. But it, from what my parents tell me, never happened. I guess it was just one of the dreams. It's so weird though, because it was just so real. The memory of being stabbed is stronger than most memories, and every so often, this spot on my back, right where I had dreamed I was stabbed, well, it tingles. He's thinking of you. I watched a little boy run up and kick a soccer ball. Then everything stopped for the slightest of milliseconds, and I watched him run up and kick the ball again. I saw the exact same moment happen twice. It was like time skipped like a needle on a record, but I was unaffected. I didn't move, but I wasn't frozen and then replayed like everyone else. I was an observer with full control over my body. I've never experienced anything similar ever again. It was so clear. I still have the frozen moment in my mind perfectly. I started panicking immediately after it happened to anyone near me. I had to sit down. It felt so incredibly real, even if it was just a hallucination. What did everyone do for that second? There were no other glitches, no clicks forward, so I had an extra second that nobody else did. I watched one moment twice. Am I a second older than the rest of the world? Did I travel back 1 second in time? Did something unimaginable happen to me in an alternate universe? Did I have a mini stroke? Who knows? I don't know if this can be classified as a glitch, and I have a feeling this might be common for a few other people, but here goes. Since I was young, off and on, I've experienced what is apparently called depersonalization. The very first time, I was young, probably 6 or 7 years old. I remember clearly it was a very sunny day, and I was walking somewhere holding my mother's hand. It was the first time I'd been allowed to wear sandals instead of shoes. Where I lived there was a lot of broken glass on the pavements. We were waiting to cross a road and it happened. This sense of complete alienation from myself. I was not me. This body wasn't mine. I was just occupying it and I was something more. It was a very strange experience. It's happened probably 2 or 3 times since then. Just a feeling that I am unfamiliar with my own self, a stranger. It's also happened once with my brother, who I'm very close to. That day I looked at him and a feeling of who is this? Just a strange person who I call my brother. It lasts just a few seconds and is quite eerie. It's the familiarity you have about yourself and others, I suppose. The attachment disappears for a few seconds. Would be very interested to see if anyone else has experienced this. More commonly I think it happens with words. It loses its meaning and appears strange or foreign, which I've also experienced. I get this every now and then, more so with other people. Sometimes I look at friends, family or my girlfriend and have that detached feeling for a few seconds. It's happened once or twice with myself as well. Like for a second I don't know who I am. Weird. When I was 10, I was homeless-ish and lived in an 8-foot camper. My bedroom was the top bunk thing. I'm laying there and my jeans were annoying me, as they were next to my head, so I flung them towards my feet. They flew back at me immediately and went back where they were originally. This happened 2 times in a row. I have no idea why they would move on their own. This still creeps me out. Maybe you accidentally threw them up in the air instead of at your feet. One night, when I was about 18, I guess I was out for a drink with a friend. Just had 1 or 2 beers, not much. I went back home and I felt allsy pretty quickly watching Skins. Lights on. Around 2 or 3 AM I woke up in a heartbeat, like if I just had a nightmare but not remembering anything about that. I notice the lights are on and a second after, all my room goes dark. I feel pretty stressed out at this point, so I get out of my bed to put the lights on again, wondering how this happened. At this moment I start to feel a pain in my hand, and when I finally put the lights on, I take a look and I'm seriously bleeding from my hand. No idea how that happened again. Went out of the house, smoked a cig and went back to sleep. Never had any explanation. El Diablo has your soul now, son. I was a kid and my mom and I were outside taking pictures of old cars to sell in the backwoods area of our yard. All of a sudden my mom hears rustling in the bush and she tells me to run. I had flip-flops on, so I kicked them off and booked it. Behind me, I didn't hear my mom, but I heard like a rusty clanking sound, like something jumped on the cars. While running, I didn't see my mom. I got into the house, panicked, and there my mom was, sitting at the table reading the paper. What the heck? Whatever is now pretending to be your mom, that's not your mom. I used to live and work at Esbrook. I had been struggling with depression for quite a while, and one day as I was crossing some sand dunes with groceries, I began to feel like I'd had enough. I wanted out and I figured I'd do it when I got home. It was at this point that I noticed something pretty big coming towards me. I looked up to see what it was but didn't see or hear anything unusual. Nevertheless, I sensed that whatever it was expanded even larger and larger as it grew nearer, and I felt my whole body begin to vibrate. It was like being in a really heavy storm or something, because this thing was immense and powerful. At first I thought I was in the way and was going to be annihilated, but somehow realized that this whatever it was going to pass me. I then had an extremely strong feeling that it had noticed me and briefly glanced in my direction. A feeling of overwhelming love and compassion, with a hint of teasing humor, like I was some silly little kid, washed over me and a word boomed in my head. Breathe. So I did. I breathed in as deep as I could and felt months and months of sadness and loneliness and self-loathing simply and immediately replaced with a pure feeling of joy. I was weightless. I was happy. Nothing else mattered. And as I stood there, the whatever it was strode past me on its way to something I somehow knew was really important, leaving me with tears streaming down my face and all my groceries spilled in the sand. Amazing. You're not the only one who's had something like that happen, right at the peak of their depression. But that is a beautiful experience. Whether or not it was a tangible thing matters not, because either your brain saved you, or something did. You have been visited by the snarling pupper. He won't hesitate to bite unless you post "Don't bite pupper." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.